Don't mind us. We're just having a little giggle in the studio behind the scenes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, wherever you're joining us from around the globe. I'm very happy to introduce one of my dearest friends, greatest inspirators, and fellow animal communicators and lovers and appreciators, Miss Suzy Godsey.
Thank you, Viv.
And the crowd goes wild. So our 10-minute quickie news and updates. Good luck to us keeping this in 10 minutes because both of us absolutely just relish and cherish the animal kingdom. So Suzy, I'd like to ask you, what is it about animals that really just lights you up? What is that?
Well, where do I begin, actually?
Yeah.
No, for me, really, I think the biggest thing is the no judgment zone. We're talking about this right now in the Being You movement with Dr. Dane here, the judgment-free zone. And when I'm around an animal, they don't judge me. I might judge myself. So there's maybe that part is not judgment-free zone, but from the animals and from nature, it definitely is. And so to me, that's such a contribution. And I think that's why most people enjoy being around an animal because it's just, there's no expectation. You don't really have to do anything. Yes, of course, if your dog is hungry, he might come up and say, hello, it's food time. But other than that, you don't really have to perform to be their friend.
Yeah, and there's a space that animals also provide and be because they don't live in our world. We've been having this conversation about the world and the universe recently in some of the Access Consciousness classes. And this concept of, the world is something that we construct around us. It's built up of all our points of view and our judgments and our rightness and wrongness and what we've decided is true. Whereas for the animal kingdom, can you talk about more, where they would function from and how that invites us into a different space as well?
Well, I mean, Viv, you're asking me a question that could take hours to really.
That's why you have to come and join Suzy and I when we have our Facebook Lives. Just a shameless
Exactly.
plug.
Exactly. We have some really cool conversations, you guys. If you ever want to check it out, Viv and I have done quite a few of these where we are talking about animals and everything in between. So, yeah, how do animals function? Well, they function pretty much also from moment to moment, every 10 seconds is kind of their operative state. And there is a little bit of a difference to me between animals that live in the wild and they don't really have human contact per se, and the ones that we call pets. And what I have noticed too, and I know you know that too, Viv, like with the pets, it's a little bit different because pets can also randomly get stuck in some kind of decision they made or some expectation that we are projecting on them. And so it's interesting because to me, they have a little bit left the completely wild life that they have had. And, in that necessity also to be always present in 10-second increments, our pets, they sleep on the couch, like with their legs up in the air. Completely relaxed. I mean, in nature, yes, they relax too. And, they have to be a little bit more alert to what's going on around them. And so their lifestyle has changed a little bit, right? So to me, there's still that too. And so when we talk about in general, just where do animals live? What is the energy they live in? I think we also have to be willing to look at the individual animal and then also where do they live? Are they living with us in a city or are they living in the wild and we don't get to be even touching them, stuff like that. So yeah.
And this is something I love about the animal kingdom too, because there's so much depth and breadth, whether it's a wild orangutan, whether it's your pet cat, or your guinea pigs, your children's guinea pigs, it's like, or the ants or the cockroaches, there's such a huge cross section of the animal kingdom. And I think people sometimes get really kind of limited in their view of cats and dogs and horses, rather than, no, this is the entire animal kingdom, So
Hmm.
if you've got an ant infestation in your house, if you've got rats, or it's not just defined and limited to our domestic animals. Yes, it includes that, absolutely. But this is where I think animals open the doors to so much more presence, awareness, relaxation, and that space. Even what you were just talking about then, Susie, they can be fast asleep on their back with their legs in the air, but they don't switch their awareness off. They might be in a slightly different state, but they never shut their awareness off. They're willing to perceive their environment. And and you flip that over to people and how different. So I'm just going to bring in Talk to the Animals as a class here, because we've called the first class Start the Conversation, but yes, it includes animal communication, but it's not limited to can be animal communication. So do you want to, again, another massive question, what other doors do these, the Talk to the Animals classes open to people
Yeah,
that may be a
I think
surprise to them?
yeah, really. Well, fascinating, because we've had a lot of feedback from people that have come to these classes saying that their skills to talk to other people have improved dramatically, and also just the way that they are now perceiving people's energy more than just the words that they are saying. Because
Mm,
people can talk a lot about so many things, and so often what's actually going on isn't even the words that they're talking about. It could be even just the simplest thing, something bugs you and you're like, oh, this person was late for a dinner date and now I'm upset with them, and blah 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 blah. And then you really go, well, is that actually really truly the energy of this? Are you really upset with them, or
mm,
what's going on here? What makes you really so upset? And then they go, oh crap, I'm upset because, and then here comes the thing that actually is upsetting them, which may have absolutely nothing to do with the other person saying, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and then it's an hour later. So the way that we function in this world is so heavy on the words we're using, the language we're
mm,
using. We're really truly, our first language is energy, and
mm,
we all really know this language, but we have been stopped quite a lot to trust that language. And
mm,
I think that's the part that we are really showing people in these classes is, hey, trust that again.
mm,
It's not that you have to learn it. We all know this. It's just we don't trust it, and we don't believe that it can actually be a form of communication. So this is the part that I think a lot
mm.
of people have aha moments about, or really go, whoa, I didn't expect that. I thought this was just about talking to Fluffy. And the funny thing is, a lot of people, when they say, oh, I want to talk to animals, and I want to talk to my dog and so forth, most of the time what they mean is, I want to make sure that when I say something to my dog, they do what I want. But
Mm.
can I please say something here, like Mythbuster number one, the animals will not be controlled more just because you now can read their energy better. So,
Handy hint number one, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and that congruency, I think that's, when you watch animals in the wild, there's no subtext, there's no game playing, there's no what they say and what their body language is saying is actually not true. And I think a lot of us get tripped up with, we listen and we believe and we lean into and we take for gospel what comes out of people's mouths. And then when we walk away, there's always this kind of wonky, funky energy in our world when something sticks us. And often that's the awareness of when something wasn't a truth for you. It may be a truth for the other person, but, and this is, again, thank you for saying this, because this is where I think the Talk to the Animals invitation is to be a lot more congruent with energy, and to know that, and like you were saying, to trust. So, it's a surprise to me when we get feedback or comments or testimonials from people who have done the Talk to the Animals classes, whereby there's so much other stuff that kind of organically permeates in amongst the molecules as much as the tools of access consciousness, which are phenomenal anyway. So So that's a little bit about Talk to the Animals. That's just one of the specialties that you facilitate, Suzy. So what I want to really talk about is ESSI. So do you want to just tell people what ESSI stands for, what it is?
Sure.
And
Sure.
let's just start there.
Yeah, so SE is the energetic synthesis of structural embodiment. And it's a type of body work that pretty much got started about almost 20 years ago now, when I first was touching Gary Douglas with this energy. And, at first when I started working on him, we didn't really have words for it. It was a while after that I asked him, "Hey, Gary, what is it that I'm doing here?" And he said, "Well, let me see. Oh, yeah, you're doing the energetic synthesis of structural embodiment." And it's a mouthful. And at first, I didn't really even know what all that meant. And it's been really interesting to see also the evolvement and the exploration of that, because just recently, Gary and Dane started talking about structure, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, this word has been here this whole time, structural embodiment and everything that kind of is
Wow.
coming along with that, right? Like we have so many points of views about the structure of our bodies and how our bodies function, and we often forget that bodies can change miraculously. We've heard it so many times, things that just dissipate miraculously, or healing that can occur miraculously where nobody really knows what happened all of a sudden, in quotation marks, the
Mhm.
whole body changed. So to me, this has been a really cool way to explore. And what do? We basically put our hands on a body and we call up this energy, but it's not like a access consciousness body process, because you're not keeping your hands still and run an energy. You're actually engaging more on a molecular structure, on a molecular level, where you with your hands are really engaging with the molecules in a way that makes things move. So
Mm.
it's hard to explain, and yet the people that are now coming and showing up for these classes are really getting it right away, which I find so amazing. Because you know what? The first class I ever did was in Australia, Viv.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
yummy, yummy.
a long, 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 long time ago. And I do recall people saying, I don't I don't get it. What are you doing? What's going, like, I don't get it, and I was so frustrated because of course I wanted to share and show people the possibilities. And it was like, what? And now it's the opposite. People are like, yes, I get, oh wow, okay, let's go. And
Mm.
people work on other people and report back with amazing things that they have contributed to bodies and all kinds of things. So it's really been a huge evolvement over all these years. So
Yeah, and from what I remember too, I mean, I hosted you many, many years ago at a horse facility, and we actually had the combination of doing SE. So you work on people's bodies, but you also work on animals' bodies. In this particular class I hosted you for, we had some of the class was people getting to, actually gift and receive this with their own physical bodies. So you do get to have the physical experience of aches, pains, twists, turns, contortions being released from your body really gently and really effortlessly, whether it's the person gifting the process and to receive it. What I remember of it was this like yummy kind of softening and melting, but there wasn't any when you go for a massage. It's a very respectable respectful, I should say, way to be with a body and ask it to change and be present with the energy, where there doesn't have to be force or pain or pressure. It's a very different process. And then to watch you demonstrate and to see people's faces when they started doing this with the animals, and animals don't lie. You start working on a giant body, bigger than a person's body, their responses the way they relax, the way they receive the energy is undeniable, and that just opens up the person practicing. Oh, I'm only just learning this. It changes so much in their world as well to realize, wow, I'm doing this. Here's the visual response right in front of my eyes that is undeniable. And to see how the horses then move differently and how they wanted to be around us, as the weekend went on. The horses are like, oh yes, please, can I come in? It wasn't like, oh, go away, bloody people, and so there is so much change that goes on. So Suzy, you're coming to Australia for the first time in like 5,000 decades.
Ages.
So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us when, where, and how do we find out about more of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I'm coming in September. On the 13th of September, I will be in Sydney for a 2.5-day SE class. And on the 14th is an evening introduction to Talk to the Animals. So it's a completely separate thing that people can choose. And yeah, I'm really excited to be coming to Australia for the first time in such a long time, truly.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
and
get
thank you for putting that website in there. People can definitely poke around a little bit, see a few things about Essie. Essie at the moment is facilitated by Dr. Andrew Gardella and myself. And we have quite a few intro facilitators around the world that are doing actually intro classes for Essie. So there might be something in your area. You never know.
mm. Yeah, fantastic. And it just so happens I didn't set this studio up, honestly, people. So this is the Talk to the Animals book. Let's see if I can get it. This is the Talk to the Animals book with Gary Douglas. That's Gary there. And this is, if this is brand new information to you, this book is, I don't know, $25, $30 or something. It is packed full of practical tools that you can start using the moment you turn the first page. It's such an invitation and an adventure into being with the animal kingdom in a really different way. So you can get this from the Access Consciousness, accessconsciousness.com, and go to the shop. Sorry, I didn't even think about putting a little ticker together for this. So accessconsciousness.com, and just go to the shop and type in Talk to the Animals in the search bar. So if you're an animal lover, if this is of interest to you, then please go and have a look at that. And just quickly, I'm just going to sneak in as well. So Suzy, do you want to talk about, so for those of you that are watching that are familiar with this and are interested in becoming a Talk to the Animals facilitator, certified facilitator, we've just changed the structure of what was the Talk to the Animals facilitator training to make it more easy for you. So Suzy, do you want to bring us up to date with the changes we've made?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to bore people too much with all the details, but in essence, what we scrapped was the actual facilitator training. And so if you are a certified Access Consciousness facilitator, you can now become a Talk to the Animals facilitator by literally just attending 3 classes, to start the conversation twice, and then the Creating Greater Possibilities class, which is not the choice of possibilities, but it's Creating Greater Possibilities, which is the advanced Talk to the Animals class that Viv and I are facilitating together. And actually our first, it's not our first one, but since this change, our first class will be in October online. So if you are thinking about this, hurry up and get into a Start the Conversation class, because that would be your prereq to come to the advanced class in October. So if this is of any interest, hop on the talktotheanimals.com website and check out the nearest and or fastest or whatever class that comes up that you would like to take for Start the Conversation.
I just had a total visual of facilitators jumping on a leopard's back and galloping towards the target. So yeah, thank you so much, Suzy, for joining me. As always, it's a great pleasure for us to hang out, and I can't wait to see you in person again. It's been many years, my friend. So
I know.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We've had a few comments. Thank you for dropping in and saying hi to us. And you can also find out more at suzygodsey.com as well. Thank you for your time, Suzy. Mwah.
Thank you
Thanks,
for having me,
everybody.
Viv, and thanks everyone for watching.
And may the horse be with you.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.